Hey, my name is Dave Pryor. This is part of the Global Agility and Innovation Summit podcast series. Yesterday they had the conference. Today I'm getting to sit down with some of the speakers and thought leaders, and Patricia Remacle is here. Patricia, thank you for making time in your afternoon for this.
Hey, Dave. Nice to be here.
So you gave a talk yesterday all about AI and product design and product development, right?
It was about product discovery and how
Okay.
you actually go about doing the market analysis and evaluating what your best opportunities are, and then actually testing that out with your customer base and figuring out really what you should be investing in from an engineering perspective.
Okay. So I'm kind of glad that I misspoke when I said what you talked about, because that's what happens to me in class all the time. Is I teach a PO class. People come in and they come up with an idea and they just go straight into execution. And
Exactly.
there's no time spent figuring out, does anybody want this? Should this exist? Why do they need it? How do they need it? Why do you think companies don't do that? And why do they skip over that?
It's so a lot of companies have started to become what you'll hear in the industry is feature factories. So they've developed these, development teams or squads or scrum teams, and those teams are invested in developing the next set of features and delivering
Okay.
that to the market. And they get into a rhythm of doing that. So there's always, the backlog's built up of what's the next feature we're going to build. But what is missing is the very important work of, is the features that we're delivering actually meeting an unmet need of the customer base? Is there a pain
Okay.
point that the users need these features? Are they really going to adopt these features? And a lot of companies are now trying to measure that after the fact, but that's too late, right? To know that you've now developed a set of features that aren't actually even being used by your users and aren't improving your customer retention or aren't improving the way you can actually win new customers. So there's a whole phase of a product life cycle that, I think a lot of teams are missing, and that's product discovery. And
Yeah.
that's where you actually go out and do your market analysis. You talk to your customers, you talk to your user base, you figure out what their pain points are, and then you start to ideate on what are the different ways we could actually solve those things. And then
Okay.
you can actually go through a prototyping process where you prototype it, you validate it, you actually test that with users, and you get learnings from that, and that could feed back into a whole other ideation cycle. And so, you know, for a lot of companies, they don't
Yeah.
have the rhythm of going and doing product discovery before they actually feed something to the development teams.
Which is really weird because they spend so much time and effort on transforming to Agile so they can build stuff fast. They just never bother to figure out if they're building the right stuff.
Correct.
Okay. So I kind of skipped over the intro after I botched the topic name, but your background includes 20 years of experience working with companies in all different areas of technology, figuring out different aspects of product development. So you've done mobile, Internet of Things, cloud, enterprise, um, and I'm curious about how AI is hijacking that or helping that.
Um, so obviously AI is hijacking that or helping that in two different ways. One is starting starting to think about how you might, and most product managers need to start thinking about how they're going to potentially leverage AI as part of their product strategy. In other words,
Yeah.
how whatever solution they're developing, is there an aspect to it that can be uh, improved by actually using AI as part of the actual solution you're developing? But there's
Okay.
also a whole set of tools that AI is enabling that are being brought to market that are actually allowing the teams to be much more efficient about how they actually go through the product discovery and product development process. And that's sort of what I talked about yesterday is a lot of these tools that are now available in the marketplace that allow very rapid iteration of ideas. So it's
Okay.
actually, they actually assist you with brainstorming. There's a whole set of tools out there that will do a SWOT analysis based on ingesting data from like your support tickets, your app review,
Wow.
your, you can actually plug it into all of the different areas where customers might be talking about your product. And it will
Okay.
analyze all that data, synthesize it, and come up with a SWOT analysis of here's your strengths, here's your weaknesses, here's your opportunities and threats.
Wow.
And then there's a whole set of tools that you can actually use to rapidly build prototypes now, where you
Okay.
don't actually need, and these can be high fidelity clickable prototypes that you don't necessarily need a UX designer sitting by your side. You can actually describe what you want to build in English, and these tools are now smart enough to then automatically build the screens, the interactions to actually put it in front of a user and test these things out. And so the idea from an agility perspective of being able to rapidly iterate through this process is
Yeah.
really becoming a reality. You literally could probably do this, in hours as opposed to days or weeks.
Wow. So with what you just said, I was thinking about all the times I've sat in a room with a designer and a customer, and the customer has tried to explain to the designer what they want, and it's like they're speaking completely different languages. And how does that work better in AI? Because I mean, it's almost like you'd have to either teach the customer how to talk to the AI or teach the AI how to understand the customer, right?
Right. Well, and it, this again, if with a lot of AI tools, a lot of people will talk about prompt engineering. So the better you
Mhm.
get at explaining to the AI model what you're trying to do, the better the model will actually, give you what the results are,
Okay.
right? So you need to get better at being able to understand how to describe to the model and how, and I think a lot of people don't realize all the different attributes you could give the model in order
Yeah.
to allow it to refine what it's producing. And so um, I think that it's just a learning process. But the cool thing about these tools is that you can open up and play with them for like, and
Yeah.
if you're like me, hours, because it's sort of cool because you can actually try something, it will generate something. You're like, that's not quite what I wanted. You can tell it, take what you just generated and change XYZ, and it will generate the next version. And as I said, this is literally, every 15 minutes, you could be generating a new
Yeah.
version of what you're trying to ideate on or what you're trying to develop a prototype on. And so
Okay.
it's a matter of cutting out a lot of the middlemen where
Yeah.
you used to have a design, somebody tell a designer and then the designer build it, then the designer put it in front of the customer, then the customer give feedback, and then you might go through a week-long sprint to do that or a
Sure.
2-week-long sprint to do that. Well, now it's literally now something you can
Minutes.
do, as I said, in hours. Yes.
Okay. So I'm assuming that with a tool like this, there's a way to save the state so that the AI is learning how to interpret what is said by the prompts put forth by the customer in the same way that that customer is becoming more skillful at the prompts that they enter.
Yes.
So they're
Yes.
learning to collaborate together. Okay.
Yes.
Um, with
And
what you
and
said,
there's actually, I was going to say, there's actually a tool out there that I was playing with that does customer, like, will be able to interview a customer in order to
uh-huh.
find out truly what their pain points are and what needs are. And the interesting thing is like a chatbot, and it actually knows how to do like a 5 why analysis.
Okay.
So it will actually, as the customer is responding to like the initial question, it will adapt what the next question it asks the customer and actually
Yeah.
sort of lead that customer through a 5 why analysis so that you can really get to the root cause of, you know, this is something you currently have. It is an unmet need for this customer, but really what is underneath all the layers of what that is and what's truly the root cause that we need to solve. And so it actually
Okay.
will go through and do that analysis and then serve back up to you, here's what I'm hearing from your customers. And you can take that and you can,
Okay.
it's very
Validate it with
scalable.
them.
You can actually
Yeah.
send that out to, thousands of customers.
Okay. So with what you were just saying and what you said before about UX, like as soon as you said the thing about UX, I started thinking, well, it kind of separates that job. There is the person who works with the customer to help them understand what their problem is, because so many of them come in and say, I need this medicine, but they don't even know what's wrong yet.
Right.
Then there is translating that into language, with the prompts or whatever, that could be used by the AI, but the actual creation of the thing, that's the thing the AI, I mean, it takes the, I hate that I'm saying these words, but it takes the artistry out of the design.
Well, so yeah, so there's really three roles you're talking about. There's the product manager.
Mhm.
They're really responsible for understanding the customer's needs and pain points.
Yeah.
There's the UX designer, who is responsible for doing the artistry, and I still think there's a role for the UX designer, by the way. And then there's the eventual developer who's going to take that design and implement it in a solution. I think what
Okay.
AI is doing, and though it is um, potentially compressing these three
Yeah.
roles. And I think that is also, so for as an example with UX design, I
Mhm.
think these tools are good at potentially creating prototypes so you can validate your idea. But as
Yeah.
far as really what you want to go to market with and understanding, what's going to be an elegant design and what's going to be easily adoptable by users and designing that in the best way possible,
Yeah.
I still think that there's a need for a UX designer to really do that final design.
Do you think that their job changes now?
I think they aren't. I think that you know, uh, I think that they're going to be doing higher value stuff. So I think this
Okay.
will actually relieve them from, for instance, doing some of the maybe early prototypes and
Yeah.
having to do wireframes like for the early prototypes. I think now you might be able to go through a prototyping process where you're really focused on the concept, and is the
Yeah.
concept something that users are find valuable, willing to pay for, so on and so forth, and leaving the UX designer to say, okay, here's really where we're gonna design something that is elegant for the user, easy to
Right.
adopt, doesn't have a lot of friction in it, and so
Okay. How does it affect the job of whoever's responsible for product design? I mean, like, do they have to go? Let's say I'm somebody who's a couple years into my career. I've been headed down a path. Now AI is coming along. How do I have to retrain myself? What skills do I need that I don't have? How is the job changing?
so for most product managers and UX designers, if you haven't already started to play with the tools that are now available to you,
Yeah.
um, you really, people need to sit down and start working with these AI based tools. They need to
Okay.
understand how powerful they are. They do need to get better at how to actually the prompt engineering, how you actually prompt these models and how you get results from them.
Yeah.
The better you get at that, the quicker you will be able to get to your a final result that makes sense.
Hmm.
So um, I just, I think a lot of people are concerned about like whether their job's going to go away. And I think they need to realize is that what these tools will allow you to do is actually focus on the higher value or more strategic level stuff.
Hmm.
And they are going to automate or make a lot easier a lot of the more, day to day, tactical stuff that you might have done beforehand.
Yeah. There's a part of me that keeps thinking when I hear people say they're going to lose their jobs, I just keep thinking your job's going to be a different job in the
Yes.
same way that Illustrator and Photoshop changed what designers do, or Shockwave
Yes.
changed the way animators do things. Like all these things, they let us do some things faster that we spend a ton of time learning how to do, and that frees up our time to spend it on, like you said, how like higher level concerns
Well,
about what's going on.
like right now, most companies don't go out and do really effective product discovery at all. Right?
Or any.
Right. They're supposed to be going out there and spending a lot of time talking to customers and understanding how customers feel and what their unmet needs are. And that's all, it's textbook stuff. But the reality is that a lot of companies currently still don't do this effectively. So
Right.
there's still a lot of room to become more sophisticated as
Hmm.
a product management team. And these tools are going to allow you to do that.
Okay. Do you think that we're getting past the era of, I feel like that sort of Steve Jobs, kind of Don Draper, I'm going to sit in a room and figure it all out and bend the universe to my will. Are we growing out of that finally?
Um, I mean, a lot, there's always the, famous, the Steve Jobs quote, and I'm going to paraphrase, but it's, you don't necessarily build the product based on what the customer's asking for. You need to anticipate what their needs are,
Yeah.
build that solution, and then, get them to
Well, it's
adopt
like
that.
Henry Ford's thing about, he would have built more horses
Right,
to build up a
right,
car.
exactly. So, so no, I still think that there's definitely a need to innovate and come up with how are you going to disrupt the industry, right? That's what what those companies out there that want to disrupt the industry. Look what Uber did, with
Yeah.
with taxis, right?
Right.
So I don't think that's going away, and I don't think AI is necessarily going to change that because you still need to the tools that I have played with that are brainstorming tools are very good at helping you think outside of the box and helping you think about aspects
Yeah.
of how you might build a solution in ways you hadn't thought of. And so,
In the same way that Photoshop would for somebody who used or Illustrator, it's
right. But really knowing what the moonshot is, like how you're going to disrupt the industry,
yeah,
it's not necessarily going to tell you that. There's still a place there for the people who understand how they're going to harness this new technology, especially with artificial intelligence, right? How they're going to harness this and how they're going to
yeah.
use it to disrupt different industries.
Is it fair to say that this thing keeps coming into my head as we're talking about it, that AI is like an instrument that you have to learn how to play,
Yes.
and learning how to play is not going to make you Miles Davis,
No. Yes,
right?
exactly. That's
Okay.
very yes. You're not going to be the virtuoso.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, cool. If people want to learn more about you and the work that you do, what's the best way to reach you?
I would say you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Patricia
Okay.
Remacle, and I'd be happy to, connect and talk further about this.
Awesome. This is great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.